So, have you guys heard about those Mooncat NFTs?
Oh, no, let's not start with NFTs. Oh man.
Once I've listened to a few podcasts on them. I think I watched a few YouTube videos, maybe one you sent, and they're interesting. I can see how
Yeah.
you can get perks linked with them from like artists, or I could see Tone picking up some sort of comic NFT or something like that. I wouldn't be
But
surprised.
actually, that was on my list of things to ask about. Is like, so there's quite a few. I follow several artists like on social media and stuff, and that was like one of the big things was like there's like this internal debate in that community of like, hey, like, is this something we should all be leaning towards? And then some of them were like, oh my god, it's horrible for the environment, we're destroying our planet, we can't be using this. Like, it's this weird like. And so how, like, can you guys kind of explain to me what an NFT is, and then how it relates to the art community? In which, and maybe depending on your explanation, I'll probably get in them and get a bunch of them.
I can't really speak to NFTs. I understand a very basic level of what they are. I mean, it stands for non-fungible token, but beyond that, I don't understand how the technical aspect of an NFT works.
I guess it's up to you, Danny.
Yeah.
Okay. So, an NFT is it's a unique code that could be stored as essentially an object inside of a wallet. And I'll just speak to Ethereum wallets. So you can generate one and then establish ownership of this code. And the code can actually be just associated to anything, essentially. But it's a unique code. You can prove that you own it because it'll be inside of your wallet. And because you can prove you own it, you could also sell it to other people and transfer it to other wallets in exchange for some sort of funds. So at a base level, that's probably all you need to know technically. It's just something that could be stored in your Ethereum wallet, and through different websites can be associated with what's become popular now is art. And it could be any sort of art, still image, it could be a GIF, it could be a video with some audio, anything like that. So the reason I'd say it's good, especially for the art community, and that's like just scratching the surface of what NFTs could do, but what it's popular for now is the art community. And so you can link your own art to this unique code, create it, and then sell it on a marketplace where not only can you sell it to buyers who are interested in owning your art, but you could also establish residual compensation so that every time that piece of art sells, you can gain 5 or 10% on the sale price of whatever it sells for. So that's a new concept that I don't think has ever existed for art, period, let alone digital art. Like, digital art has never been seen as something you can buy or sell. And now through NFTs, you can actually establish ownership of digital items.
Okay, that's kind of awesome. So like I guess coming from my point of view, just because like I own a couple pieces of original comic book art, right? So this is where my brain is coming from. So they go through like several variations of like, there's people who like will make recreations of this kind of stuff and then sell them, and you'll find out like, oh, this is like a fake one. So to have one that's like verified original is awesome, because you want to support that artist that you love. And then in this situation, not only am I guaranteeing like a purchase for this artist that I say, hey, I like your work, I want to own it, but now like if I say I'm going to make t-shirts at my next birthday party and sell them for $5 a piece, they theoretically can establish ownership of that as well.
So I think that's a step that doesn't exist yet, but there's larger implications for being able to generate these unique tokens and have them on the blockchain, and then have them have programmable aspects like that. So I don't think that's something that's too far in the distant future, but it doesn't exist at this point. But establishing royalties like that is something big that at least I'm somewhat tracking that could be big for the music industry, or like crowdfunding different projects and being able to establish ownership and therefore where money should go should something like that generate money down the line, and being able to just kind of distribute those funds to all the interested parties. And I don't know if we can move on to the environmental issue.
To that, if you could explain how, because I still don't understand how it affects that.
I think those articles. I'm biased, of course, so I am biased on the side of it's not a problem. So I'll preface my answer with that. But I think all the articles that claim, I've seen headlines that are like, one NFT the creation of one NFT uses, the same amount of energy as you could use to power a house for like 6 months or something crazy like that. I just don't think the power argument and the environmental issue is a problem. I mean, it just boils down to where our power comes from in general. Miners seek out the cheapest power, and the cheapest power is typically some sort of renewable source, like hydroelectric or stuff like that. I mean, that doesn't apply everywhere in the world, but I just don't see it as a problem. Yes, miners do use a lot of power. Yes, if you're creating an NFT, you're creating demand for that miners will have to fill, but I think it just comes back to just our broken power system and just not being renewable enough yet.
You that's coming from someone who hates trees, right?
I'm not anti-tree, but I'm pro crypto. Like, I don't know, pro mining.
Yeah.
Because there's also I think I've mentioned this before, but the financial aspect that's not taken into consideration. Yes, Bitcoin power uses as much as, like, I don't know, what is it, Switzerland or something like that.
Yeah.
But I would like to see how much money is generated by the countries in that same region that use that much power. And I would argue that Bitcoin's probably up there for how much revenue or how much value it's generating using that power.
And NFTs, like Bitcoin, I'm sure nowhere near the extent, but they're a lot of miners and a lot of power is taken into people's buying and selling them, or just
creating them,
creating and buying and selling. So the creating NFTs is a transaction. Buying or selling NFTs is a transaction, and all those just add to the congestion on the Ethereum network.
Oh, these are all on Ethereum?
These are all on Ethereum.
Interesting. So let's say we buy an NFT of a little clip or a picture or something. Is it just something we can kind of brag about that we say we own and we have, or can we get a digital frame on our wall and display it in our house at least?
Yeah, but both of those are
Okay.
are valid things you can do.
Okay, cool.
And then hopefully you can get paid for it because it's in demand, And like Tone's, like Tone's artwork and stuff. He just, it's going to transaction that into digital, and then it's going to be in so much in demand that we're going to get some little dinero going from that.
If Tone creates an NFT, I will definitely buy.
I believe that's a challenge.
All right. Well, I'll start working on it and try and figure it out. To help, because you're very intelligent, Danny. So to help, like, my dumb brain, like, understand everything you said, like, what you were essentially talking about, like, to circle back, was that, like, the environmental, like, impact, I guess we'll call it, is almost a false equivalency. Because, like, so all related to cars, like Jesus brought up electric cars, right? So like what we need to make an NFT is just, let's just call it 500 horsepower, right? Now, if I want to make an argument that it's bad for the environment, I can say, well, if I ran this diesel engine at this much to get this horsepower, I'm going to create this environmental impact, as opposed to I took this Ford electric car
Yeah.
and said,
If
hey,
you juiced it up with solar.
yeah,
or
and I
something,
did
yeah.
this to, right? It's not exactly a guarantee that it's going to perform this way. It's just it's like how we're choosing to, or how they're choosing to make that like assumption, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what you were saying? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess you can calculate easier on watts instead of horsepowers, but it's the same thing.
There's some articles out there that say like 60% of power that goes to blockchain is renewable, and that's probably debatable. It could be less, it could be more, but yeah, it's essentially some sort. It's not a full straw man argument, but it's kind of creeping that way. It's just like, oh, well, it's bad because yeah, you put it the right way. And it is the problem essentially, but it's something
Like,
that'll be worked out.
Like Michael's friend, you know, maybe he wouldn't have gotten solar if he, you know, didn't want to. I mean, if mining wasn't available, you know, maybe he would have just stayed on the grid and not thought about upgrading his house power.
Or even me mining, I'm mining right now, but I'm able to not run my heater pretty much at all. It's not completely a wash because I saved about, I think it was 30 cents a day from using less heat, but it cost me about 60 cents a day more in electricity. But yeah, I don't know. So it's not that you can't make the complete equivalency. It's totally bad. It doesn't mean it's good, but we're working on ways to distance ourselves from that power consumption anyway.
So question, are you going to mine throughout the summer?
No.
Okay.
Probably not. I'm barely profitable as it is. Barely scraping by with about $1.30 to $1.60 a day in Bitcoin, but that's costing me about $1 a day in electricity. So
you're making like 60 cents or so?
If that, yeah. And that's with Bitcoin at 50 to 60K. So let's hope that stays there or goes higher.
But yeah, what if it drops, right? What if it drops to like back to 40 or something?
Yeah. So I'm essentially going a roundabout way to buy Bitcoin at a slight discount. It's probably more worth it to just put essentially $1.50 a day into Bitcoin. But I just thought it was a fun thing to try out since this is one of the only times my current computer, which is like 6 years old, would be profitable. It's when Ethereum's going crazy.
On another note, Danny, how's the weather up there?
Oh, it finally started snowing. It was supposed to start snowing like I think like Thursday night at first, and then
Yeah,
it was
they've
supposed to
been
be
moving it.
this morning, and yeah, now there's about a quarter inch on the ground for me.
Yeah, we're about the same actually. And starting to stick on the roads too, actually.
And it's supposed to snow for like the next day and a half, 2 days, like straight.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. And happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I accept gifts in Voyager token, Bitcoin, Ethereum, any of those.
I'll give you pie. I will, yeah.
Okay.
Any day.
Pie too.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, don't send me crypto because I don't want to deal with that on my taxes.
Oh man, taxes is another thing I don't want to get into today, but eventually I think we have to get into. I didn't sell any crypto in 2020 just because I didn't want to deal with it.
I will say
Yes.
it's additional thing that you'll have to worry about, but it's not as bad as you would think. But you don't have to remember random transactions at times. So like, for example, if I did if I did receive a gift from somebody in crypto, I would have to kind of like take note of that and mark that crypto as a gift come tax time, because otherwise it'll throw them off my like cost basis and do a bunch of weird stuff like that. So it is annoying, but it's manageable. You get, and when you're making $1 million off crypto in a few years, you won't mind just doing a little bit on the taxes front.
Yeah, so kind of like spinning off of that, like realistically, like what is the future? Do you actually think of this? Like let's project 20 years into the future, right? Like, are we going to be like Star Wars status where there's different credits and you're just like trying to like, I have, Doge credits that I'm trying to exchange for these Bitcoin credits? Or do you think it's going to be slower than that? Is it going to take us even longer, like a century down the line before this is fully, like, I guess, embraced by the globe?
I think as far as actual currency, I think that'll happen a little more slowly than adopting blockchain technologies for other like business related stuff. I think you're slowly going to start seeing blockchain consuming really inefficient internal like business workings, and providing a lot of value there, which will make it a no-brainer for companies to start switching to these technologies. A few examples would be like on the stock market, settling funds more quickly, or in like the realtor property. I don't even know what the word is. Buying and selling homes.
The state market, yeah.
For like title searches and having properties linked to actual trackable things on the blockchain, so that it phases out weird middleman businesses like title search people and stuff like that. So because of the value proposition, I think businesses will start using this technology more, and then eventually, people might get used to it more as a currency, but it's just going to slowly consume a lot, and especially in like the 20-year time frame.
Yeah, I was reading something about first comes just the amount of money, so liquidation, then utilization, and then you get stabilization after those two things happen, and then you're able to actually use it as a currency. So I think we're in at least step 1 or going towards step 2.
Yeah, it's hard to use it as a currency right now because it's so volatile. It's like, why do I want to spend this today when it's supposedly going to be worth twice as much tomorrow? So I think it does have to, something has to stabilize for a currency, or for like a crypto to truly be a currency. I think Danny brought up a good point in terms of, companies switching to blockchain technologies. I think the first ones we'll probably see are like Visa and MasterCard for payment processing. And I think stock was another good example. I do think that for a broader market, it's going to be a lot slower. Like I can't see like Ford switching to any sort of blockchain technology in any sort of near time frame.
Even with Ford Credit?
Oh no.
No.
I mean, no. I think we'll probably be eventually dragged kicking and screaming into that world. But I mean, we're talking way down the line. We're still catching up on technology 20 years ago. So for companies like us, it's just going to be slow.
My buddy Farley's going to make it happen. You just watch.
I wouldn't be surprised if a company like Ford would move to like their supply chain blockchains that exist. And I could see a company like Ford potentially using something like that in order to track their parts, see where they are, see where they're coming from. And
VeChain.
Is that what VeChain does?
Yeah.
Oh. So I could see that being adopted pretty quickly.
And that could be realistic, because I'm thinking more on the Ford Credit side of things. I don't think in terms of our financial systems we would switch to a blockchain anytime soon. But definitely the Ford has a lot more resources than Ford Credit. They have a lot more money that they're allowed to spend. I get used binders and use pins. So
So yeah, let's go back to kind of what Tone was asking though, a little bit of a timeline though. So company adoption in 3 years, 5 years?
it's hard to say. I mean, like I think the adoption timeline is hard because what happens after this upcoming crypto crash? Do people lose interest? I think that's the hard kind of thing. Is it's been a wave of interest and then suddenly crashes and people lose interest for 3 years. I think it's hard enough right now to get other consumers on board. So I think it's really just going to be a slow process. I think it's hard to put an actual timeline on some of this, on how quickly it gets adopted.
I do think that when you start seeing big companies like Tesla and even like PayPal's and all these guys starting buying into Bitcoin, that's a good sign. That's something that you didn't see 3-4 years ago. So at least once the bigger companies start either accepting it, then you'll probably start seeing it. So I think it's a lot sooner. 5 years would be a good time frame.
Yeah. To make a brief note about ADA, ADA is coming out with like a graphical smart contract programming interface. And the power in that actually comes from not having to hire smart contract developers to implement some sort of financial business related process. So instead, some sort of like business process manager can learn a little bit how to program a smart contract on ADA and be able to implement, since he knows his business and the way it works, the business processes, he can easily program that onto like ADA smart contract and get that deployed. I think that goes back to my point of just you'll start seeing blockchain disrupt those smaller business practices, and you'll see maybe some companies come up that use some sort of blockchain technology to make something insanely more efficient, and bigger companies using them to gain some efficiency and be more have more value. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I think we're early. Yeah. I think if we're consistent, stay consistent in keeping up with the latest projects and putting a little money into each one that you think is good, it'll pay off in 4 years' time.
Does anybody else have any questions? We're pretty much 2 hours in.
Good Lord.
And
when we're all hanging out, I miss you guys.
I know, and we're all hanging out.
I know, really.
I think we can definitely, keep the questions for next week, or bring up questions during the week, and then we'll do it again next Saturday.
Yeah, I think we'll probably need a bit more of a outline.
I think this worked great. I mean, I didn't, it was a pretty good flowing thing. But I'll probably break it up. I'll probably do one long one, and whoever has some editing skills, send them my way, because that's not me.
All right, I just transferred all my editing skills.
Sent it on the blockchain.
Send it on the blockchain. That's right. All right, let's see if I can stop recording before. Let's see, stop recording.